History does not only hide in battlefields and palaces, sometimes it hides in edits, labels, and unlikely objects that survived by accident. These 8 stories show how one decision or one discovery can completely change what we think we know. Rachel Henning's famous letters were deleted, distorted, and defaced by the editor who published them. Henning was an English-born woman who moved to Australia in 1854, then returned to England in 1856 before going back again. Her letters came from real shifts in place, a farm in Appin, her brother's sheep station in rural Queensland, and later a farm near Wollongong. The editor did not simply preserve her voice. The published version reshaped it, so readers inherited a filtered record instead of her original line by line. That means Henning's fame rests on a source that survives in altered form, even though her letters still carry traces of her experience. The Zoninus collar is the only known Roman slave collar that offered a reward for returning its wearer. It was worn by a slave, so the collar worked as both restraint and identification. Most collars would mainly mark ownership. The Zoninus collar added a notice promising a reward if someone returned the wearer. That turned the collar into a recovery tool. That meant Roman control could reach into public space through identification and incentives. The object worked beyond the household. Today, the surviving collar is a rare artifact of a practical tracking system. It preserves one documented case where a punishment object doubled as a recovery notice. Cecil Kent Dringer's report on the Radium girls was published only after a forged version was submitted in his name. The report concerned the Radium girls, a case already under public scrutiny. Its value depended on who authored it and how it entered the record. The decisive detail was forgery. A version was submitted under Dringer's name before publication. That breaks the chain of authorship at the point readers would trust it most. Because the false version came first, the public record was shaped by a document that was not straightforwardly submitted. The published report carried that altered path into view. So the issue is not only the report's content, it is that the Radium girls' record was already changed before most readers ever saw Dringer's name on it. The earliest surviving silk scroll painting from Gangwon Province was found in an attic in Hopkinton, New Hampshire. It came from Gangwon Province, but it survived far from Korea in a house storage space. The object was a silk scroll painting, not a printed image. Its survival depends on private hands and domestic storage, where objects can outlast the place they were made. An attic can become the last shelter for a rare work. The discovery shifted the painting's historical memory. It was no longer only a regional work from Gangwon Province, it was also a rare attic find in New Hampshire. That double identity gives it value, an early surviving work from Gangwon Province and a preserved object from Hopkinton. The attic did not erase its origin, it carried it across distance. A 17th-century Mughal painting shows a saint as transparent. That is not a damaged figure or a painting error. It is a deliberate choice inside the image's visual language. The transparency marks him as said to occupy a different plane of reality, beyond ordinary physical space. The painter turns that belief into a visible form. Instead of a normal portrait, the image uses composition to state a theological idea. Belief becomes something the viewer can see at once. One unusual visual decision carries the message: the saint is present, but not in ordinary physical terms. Ken Domon called the Standing Statue of Kichijōten the most perfect feminine beauty in Japanese Buddhist art. Domon was a major Japanese photographer, so his judgment carried the weight of a trained eye. He was not describing Buddhism in general, but one image among many. He singled out Kichijōten as a benchmark, using beauty as a critical standard. That made the statue more than an object of devotion, it became a reference point in art criticism. A precise praise like that can shape how an artwork is remembered. Domon's wording gave the statue a clear place at the top of his personal scale of beauty. So the Standing Statue of Kichijōten is remembered through one unusually strong judgment, a Buddhist image judged against beauty itself. That is the power of Domon's phrase. Casa Amesti was built before California became a state, so the house is older than the state around it. That makes it one of Monterrey's oldest houses. It belongs to the time before California had statehood. The meaning is chronological, not decorative. The building predates the political identity that later defined California. Because the house survived, it became more than a structure. It is evidence that the place existed before the state framework did. So when you stand near Casa Amesti, you are looking at a house that outlasted the state name now attached to Monterrey. The Sweet Sulphur Springs Hotel was famous for the supposed healing powers of its mineral waters. People came for the springs themselves, not just to bed for the night. The hotel's reputation grew from the water around it. The mechanism was belief. Water quality and a healing reputation turned the property into a destination. That shifted fame away from architecture or luxury. The attraction was the claim attached to the water. The hotel became a destination built around a health promise, showing how a business could sell belief as much as rooms. If one altered letter or one strange object can reshape the record, imagine what else is sitting in plain sight. Subscribe for more true history, and tell us which story changed how you see the past.